everyone, it's Vic here from App Forever Scrapping. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I'm sharing with you a creative process video for Lottie Loves Paper using the Pebbles Hey Hello collection, and that was designed by Jen Hadfield. So rainbows are in at the moment, and that was the basis of my layout. You don't have to use like the normal colours of the rainbow, so I wanted to show to you how you could use your pattern papers to get the same kind of effect. I've used a Paige Evans cut file here that I cut on my silhouette machine, and instead of cutting out the gaps in the cut file for where you would back it with the coloured papers, I've left it as a solid shape. I've then used the silhouette to cut the right size strips out of my pattern papers. So I wanted to use these papers because I just think they're so beautiful, but I wanted to try and follow a little bit of the colours of the rainbow. So it's not an exact match and it hasn't got all the colours in, but I think it works really well. And then I've used this really cute ditzy floral paper with the songbirds on to back the clouds on the cut file. And I just think the effect you get by using pattern papers to back cut files can be really pretty and effective. So what I've done, instead of drawing around the shape of the cut file, I've put my glue on the back of the cut file. I use Cosmic Shimmer glue and stuck that onto the bit of pattern paper I want, and then just cut around the edge there. And as you can see, it's a really quick, easy way to do it. With more intricate shapes, it is better sometimes to draw around your that I had to scrap them straight away. So I don't know if any of you are like that, but I think when you have some inspiration, you just need to run with it. So I'd fussy cut some of the flowers out of the mustardy floral paper in the collection because I was loving the cut file, but just felt it needed something behind it. But I wasn't quite digging them, so put it all to the side. And I'd seen on a recent Facebook group, Scrap Academy, Emile Chamel, and she had hand drawn her title and then cut it out of pattern paper. So I think I might have done this in the past, but not with it all joined up. I've done it as like block letters. But I think it's a great way if you don't have a cutting machine, like she suggested, for you to do it, and it's individual and personal to yourself. So I knew what I wanted my title to be, and I've used the shape of the rainbow there just to draw a line so I can put my title on it. So I'm just checking there as to where I want to put the next bit of my title. And it's great. If you do it in pencil, you can just rub out as you go along. So I'm happy where it all is, and I just wanted, instead of doing it as individual letters, which I've done in the past for titles, way before I had a cutting machine that my mum kindly lent to me, I wanted them to be joined up like you could do on a cut file. So it's just a little idea for you. You could do like cut yourself like some 1-inch, 2-inch square pieces of paper and hand draw your letters on there and cut them out, or you could do it like this. So I wasn't brave enough to do it on my pattern paper first. I wanted to make sure that I liked it first on the on some scrap paper. So what I've done is I've put pencil lines on the back of that sheet that I've done my title on as well, and then I'm just going over it again with my pencil. You may have done this technique when you were at school, actually, a bit like a tracing technique. So just going over it, and that then we'll just put the letters on very lightly onto that cardstock. I don't know if that makes sense, impose it on, but anyway, you can't really see it very well there. I tried to focus in for you, but you couldn't. So anyway, it's given me a faint outline on my patterned cardstock, and I'm now going around with my scissors and fussy cutting it all. Now I have some little scissors for fussy cutting, but I really don't get on with them. I cut everything with these great big huge scissors. I just find because they've got a longer blade, that when you move the paper and then I've finished it off with my hot glue gun just to seal the ends of them, and I just think they look absolutely fabulous on there. So really pleased with how it's looking. So now to work on the background. So I'm using the smushing technique or the packaging technique with my Gelatos. So I've literally scribbled them on dry onto some old packaging, as you can see, and then watering down with some with my paintbrush and water, and then just gently smushing the cardstock. Now, the cardstock I've used is Brazil marshmallow cardstock that I got from the Lottie Loves paper shop, and it's just a thicker material and just holds your wet mixed media a lot better without warping so much. So that's a little top tip, or you could apply gesso to your normal cardstock. So as you can see, I'm now adding splats of normal watercolour paint, and also just mixing it around a bit to get a nice watercolour motley effect, which is meant to replicate a bit of the sky. I'm using my really old watercolouring set. As you can see the state of it there. I had that when I was doing GCSE and art A level, so it's been well loved and used, but it still comes out and it's perfect for creating backgrounds like this. And I love the fact if you have like wet media on your card, even you flick colours on top of it, it just sort of blends into one. It's great. So whilst I'm waiting for that to dry, back in my photos with some white cardstock. I did contemplate using pattern paper, but I felt the white made them stand out a bit better and also complemented the lightness on her face. I would normally, as you've seen from my previous layouts, do a black line on that white backing to help frame the photo even more, but I felt that on this layout that was going to be too dark and wouldn't fit in with it very well, so decided against that. So the background's dry, and now it's time to stick everything down. The bit that I absolutely love wanted to add some more interest to that background. I thought about doodling some flowers with my black journaling pen, but like I said earlier with the black line around the photo, I just felt it was too much and too heavy for the layout. So I have some of the new Paige Evans stencils, and because I'd done those rolled flowers, I thought it'd be nice to add a bit of floral into the background. So instead of using it as a proper stencil, I have carefully applied some gelato, dry gelato, onto my stencil, and as you can see, I'm just gently applying some water to it because it's a very delicate stencil. Flipping it over and then using a tissue on the other side to mop up any excess, pressing it gently onto the cardstock, and absolutely loved this effect. I thought it was brilliant. So it just is very subtle, but just adds another layer of interest without it being too heavy and detracting from the rainbow I've made. So here we go, gluing it all down now, just using my regular Cosmic Shimmer glue. Absolutely love it, my go-to glue. They can get blocked a little bit, but I find if you store them on their side, once you put the lid on, it does help prevent any clogs in that fine nozzle. Or the tip of it, I guess. So just fiddling around with the L there, where I was very, very silly. I don't actually know even how I did it, but I sliced through some of my L. We all have mistakes, even people who scrapbook loads. So if you're a beginner, just roll with it. If you have a bit of a mistake, just go with it. I've literally just tried to stick it back together, and later on I actually put like an enamel dot over most of that cut to camouflage it. So we're all human at the end of the day, but I wasn't going to try and fussy cut that all out again. So backing some of my photos with foam pads now to raise them up so that they're more at the level of those flowers, and also because the rainbow strips of pattern paper are actually raised on foam pads to give a bit more dimension to my layout. So the bits of photos that aren't on there, aren't on top of the rainbow strips, I've just applied some foam pads on just to bring it all at the same level. There we go. See, I'm trying to cover that L on that beautiful there with one of the rolled flowers, but it wasn't quite working, so changed my mind and went about it a different tactic later on. So I'm happy with where those flowers are now. Really happy with them. So beginning to stick them down. And I've also added behind them some yellow embroidery thread. So I've pulled it to like 1 or 2 strands thick from the embroidery thread, and then just rolled it around my fingers and popped it behind some of those flowers just to add some more detail. I wanted my title to stand out a little bit more. I felt it was, although it was quite big, it was looking a little bit lost. It needed something to give it a bit of definition. So just going around it all with my journaling pen there. Stamping the date that the photos were taken on. And then all that was left was to add my journaling. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and it's inspired you to maybe use your pattern papers in a different way, and to give cutting out your own title with pattern papers by yourself. This has been a layout for Lottie Loves Paper for the design team. Thanks so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it, and subscribe. You can find me on Instagram at Forever Scrapping. Thanks, bye.